In the not-so-distant past, if a child was born with a disability, they'd oftentimes be hidden or sheltered away. Many believed that individuals with disabilities couldn't develop intelligence, ever be active community members, hold employment, or even own their own home or business. For most, they were institutionalized. Jimmy Tucker and Craig Lewis were institutionalized at young ages at the Kansas Neurological Institute in Topeka, and later transferred to Norton State Hospital. After the Norton State Hospital closed in the late 80s, they transferred into DSNWK's services and have been served by DSNWK since.
In Norton, they never got to go anywhere or do anything. Positive, they were kept safe. And they had their medical and food and shelter. So at that time, that was probably the best place for them. But then when places like DSNWK started to expand, their world started to expand. Here they were slowly integrated into the community, and it was just amazing to see how they blossomed.
Jimmy had a reputation for setting fires as a child, and has lived in an institutionalized setting since the age of 7. Craig was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, which caused him to suffer from lack of oxygen. Though his family was loving and supportive, they found themselves ill-equipped for Craig's aggressive behaviors linked to his diagnosis. At the age of 17, Craig was moved to an institution.
They closed the state hospital and transferred the men here. I knew this is where I wanted to be, back with them. I was young, right out of high school, and it was scary at first to work in the Norton State Hospital because of the behaviors, until I got educated and learned how to deal with those behaviors for them and myself. That was probably the scariest. The first young girl being on a floor with 30 mentally challenged men was kind of scary to start with until you got to know them. Then it was easier as the years went by.
With little separation and rare trips outside the hospital walls, Jimmy and Craig got on each other's nerves. They both had similar personalities and competed for the same attention from hospital staff, which led to physical altercations and violent outbursts. Even when Jimmy and Craig entered DSNWK's community-based services in 1988, the violent outbursts persisted.
Back when I was a personal assistant and I was working with Craig and Jimmy, they very much disliked each other. I mean, it was extreme dislike. They would fight over literally nothing. One of them looked at the other one the wrong way. That could cause a physical altercation. They had many extreme behavioral issues, especially Craig. He struggled with physical aggression, extreme physical aggression, where he would have, it would be all day, where he was just in a very heightened place where he was mad at the world, and screaming and having physical problems, hitting people and stuff like that. Over the years, that's just steadily gone down to the point where it is now, which is Craig doesn't have behavioral issues anymore, not physical behavioral issues anymore, anyway.
As community inclusion and acceptance continued to increase, Craig's behavioral problems decreased, as many DSNWK staff believed the two are linked. They lived in the same house and attended the same day center, yet there is more space between them. With more community acceptance came more freedom to go on separate community outings and participate in different activities. Jimmy and Craig are finally at peace with each other. With more acceptance coming from the community, they too have learned to accept one another. Their services are tailored more to their individual needs rather than treating them both as the same individual. They no longer feel the effects of social isolation and the need to compete for attention. At the end of the day, when Jimmy and Craig arrive home from the redevelopmental center, they sit by the kitchen window, pop open a can of soda, and decompress. They're two old buddies who, for 6 decades, have experienced firsthand the evolution of life as individuals with developmental disabilities in Kansas.
That puts a smile on my face. They have grown so much. From sharing a bedroom to having their own, to having no electronics, to having their own radios, their CD players, their special outings, one-on-ones with their senior companion, being able to come to Reed Center and getting away from each other if they choose to, having met new friends, built new friendships. They've just grown so much. It's just amazing. They're just more open than they used to be with everybody.